Nice. I asked him if he had a Gmail account. He said it was his Hotmail account, but I don't know if it works that way. Either way, let me get into the thick of things. How's everyone's week?
I think it's
all right week. I spent the night, yesterday afternoon, evening, and most of today in Twin Falls counting boxes. Now I get to come back to our main store in Boise and do it all over again tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Someone's got to count, right?
That's why
No
you're
one
going
had
to
to take
school,
off.
right?
Yeah, no one had to take off their shoes. I was very happy with that.
What's your product, James?
Heating and cooling product, air conditioners, furnaces, parts and pieces. So that was our excitement. My excitement.
All right. So are we waiting for him, or can we start?
No. Let's go.
Oh.
Let's go. Sorry about that, Brian.
Sorry. I'm like, I'm just tired. It's been a long week already.
Now, hopefully, we can do a half an hour of this, if not less, and then go into our duty keys
Okay.
paper and kind of talk about that. Let's see where I want to start this. So part one, it was about the sexual harassment policies that we read. Entitled Note on Law of Sexual Harassment. What did you guys get out of that as a whole? Pretty straightforward.
This is a really uncomfortable topic. I mean, from a woman's perspective, it's never a comfortable topic because I can see both sides. And reading it, I was getting mad. I was getting frustrated. Just because I've seen both, and I've seen manipulation from both sexes, and I've seen harassment from both sexes, and I don't like that they tend to say it's a male. Anyways, so it's frustrating to me and uncomfortable. Or worrying.
Yeah, I totally agree. It first wants me to ask, what do you guys think sexual harassment is? Whether it be the actual definition or what you perceive it to be in your minds. As much.
I think it's just unwanted sexual advances. You know, the article states male to male, or not. The quiz says, you know, specific sexes, but it can be same sexes or opposite sexes that can perpetrate such an issue. But I think one thing that it points out, and it was echoed in the quiz, is that it doesn't matter as long as it is unwelcomed. So that's the key thing, is it's unwelcomed.
The thing I thought was interesting was that the original law was about discrimination, and then it talked about sex discrimination, and that's kind of how sexual harassment kind of segued into the federal law of Title VII. And then you have all these other countries, how they implement sexual harassment and how they get involved. But I agree with Brianne. It's a very hot topic. Much like race, a lot of people don't want to touch it, and I feel bad. But a lot of people that may be sexually harassed don't speak up, and they let it. You know, they try to just sweep it under the rug, even though they might be the victim, just because they're scared of any action taken against them or retaliation. I don't feel that people are that comfortable or feel that they're that protective if they do speak out. It's kind of sad. It also talks about Martinez's story. Can anyone give a brief synopsis about that?
Is that the Lone Star?
Yeah, that's the Lone Star, and that's it's the receptionist or the woman in the story.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the question about it?
Just a brief synopsis so that we're all on the same page.
Oh.
Are you familiar with it, Ben? Would you mind?
Yeah. So what's his name? DeCoste, I think. Yeah, DeCoste overheard a conversation that I can't remember her name, Julia Martinez,
yep.
Was having, and it sounded like from whatever he was hearing, he inferred it was like her supervisor, I think a guy named Ron French, and exactly like has been talked about, what we were just discussing, that she was afraid due to her husband's anger, due to reprisal from the company, due to any of that stuff that she didn't want to bring it to light. And so DeCoste decided to call, I don't think it was the human resources, I think it talked about the legal department, and they basically said, even though he called confidential, they said that he was obligated to report that should anything arise, should any lawsuit arise, and he were to have to testify and knew about that, and essentially advocating for the rights of the employees. So I think it got left that he was going to he confronted Martinez about it, and she was super embarrassed, standoffish, didn't want him to move forward with anything, and he just said that he was going to think about it, has to move forward, but he was going to talk to her before anything was done. So
thank you, Ben. As a general question, I'll probably direct this to either Stephen or Derek. One, do you guys feel that this constitutes sexual harassment? And if so, do you feel it's quid pro quo or more falls under the category of hostile work environment? Either one of you two.
I think it qualifies as sexual harassment under the hostile environment or background. Hostile work environment harassment. Because if you guys read the note on the law of sexual harassment, in the section it specifically talks about conduct that makes a reported claim can involve physical surroundings of the workplace or ongoing patterns of behavior, and then they give examples like repeated sexual advances, off-color jokes, or offensive or hostile behavior directed at one gender. So I think in the case it said something like she was being teased or something by her supervisor.
It was more than being teased.
And then after, I think he touched her chest, right?
And just said he would deny it if she said anything.
Yeah. So yeah, if that's not sexual harassment, I don't know what is.
Well, and something that I try to do, the rule of thumb is always conduct yourself in such a way that nobody would question if something came up against you. Whether you were if somebody was harassing me and I said something, they would not question me because they know that I'm above board. And same for if the accused, you know, if somebody accused them, like if you're above board, if you keep that level of professionalism and honestly, like human decency, people, human decency. Like I said, I'm very passionate about this, and I've been in certain situations where it's really uncomfortable, and I've overheard things. I've been in DaCosta's position, and it's tough, and it's like be above board. The
May
end.
I interject something here that I think is interesting?
Go for it.
Okay, well, I want to give my what I wrote down here comments about that question, and then a current events, which I'm sure most of you probably have been hearing about, which I think is interesting that you probably not already know what I'm referring to before I even get there, but I think it's interesting that they're talking about that in the news media while we're covering this week. So here goes. This would be considered a hostile work environment since it is an ongoing situation, while the quid pro quo can be an isolated incident. This is affecting her work and making her uncomfortable to even be around her boss, Ron French. And I've just been hearing on the radio and on the on the news and everything about that perpetrator Weinstein, and that guy just the recording of it. I thought, why? I think it said, I heard it was 2015 when that recording was done, and now all of a sudden we're hearing about it later. And then you took like an announcement like this for other people like Hillary and others that were supporting him to finally come out. And I think, how long did they know this? Why aren't they being prosecuted for knowing all this and not doing anything about it? And then years later it comes out. I mean, is there a double standard in this country here? I mean, what's going on here? That's and that's the thing is, and also I was talking to my mom about it, and like it's just an uncomfortable topic for people, and that's what I think this class is all about. From what my observation of the weeks we've been talking about these subjects, is to bring out these uncomfortable things that people don't want to talk about and that are taboo. But at the same time, if you don't talk about it and you don't address it, how are you ever going to overcome these problems?
I agree with you, Derek. I feel like sometimes any other witness or bystander that sees this happening, they're like, well, I'm not the actual victim. If the victim speaks out, I'll support them, and then I'll confirm. But until then, I don't want to rock the boat. It's sad, but I feel like your mom's right. A lot of people are just think it's taboo to talk about. Nice. I was able to text Mark, and I believe that's him. Biggest foot number 9.
That's me.
Awesome. Welcome to the group.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for the invite.
We are just talking about the case Lone Star. I'm just going along with the leadership or leader questions. I'm just answering them openly and interjecting any thoughts. So the next thing I'm going to ask is, so why might a lawyer representing the company Lone Star insist on instituting a formal investigatory process? Sorry, I can't say that word. Any thoughts?
I mean, legally, you would have to cover your tail and to see the legitimacy and see how long and if it is affecting anybody else. Because if that's one thing that I know people don't want to rock the boat and don't want to and it's all hearsay if in DaCosta's where he's overhearing the conversation. But go with your gut instinct. If you think that that's what they're talking about and you need to report it. But to cover the company, because they are liable for what happens to employees during that time. It's kind of like workman's comp. You get hurt on the job, you're covered by insurance. So if there's sexual harassment, then they are liable if they hear or know, if anybody in the company knows about it and doesn't do anything, the company itself is still liable because they are not providing a comfortable or safe environment.
Thank you for that, Brianne. So yeah, DaCosta is in a dilemma. He could either report it or he can stay silent. It's asking me to get a quick vote. Who thinks DeCoste should speak up and report it? Hands.
Oh, can't see me.
Is it?
And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Anyone thinks he should not? All right. So we're in unison on that one.
So I have a question
Sure.
to go along with this from, I mean, obviously I'm the only woman in this group, but from a man's perspective, when things like this come up, when you have to do your yearly sexual harassment, how do you approach it? How do you approach your female coworkers or even your male ones now? I mean, let's be honest, we live in like a fluid kind of world. So how, I mean, because I don't know, like I'm a huggy person, but there's lines I draw once I'm at work. Like it's like wall. So when you guys come upon situations and have to deal with the sexual harassment talk every year or whatever, you know, what do you guys, from your perspective, what are some things that need to be addressed or need to be done?
I don't know. I guess I'll jump in. I've got a controversial point of view. I work in the a lot of people we work with are construction workers, and so we have a very crass type of conversation. And so there's not many female workers in our entire industry, let alone I think we have 2 part-time female employees at our branch, and people are very respectful around them. But male to male, there's friends, we are coworkers. So, I mean, that drops a lot of barriers. But then again, it goes along with who you're with and where you're at, and just being aware and respectful. So, when I started in the work environment, 95, I mean, sexual harassment, you know, it was joked about. I mean, we would state that it was graded, not reported. I mean, kind of sad to say, but that's the way it was at that point in time. And you know, things definitely come a long ways. But I don't live in such a, or don't work in such a fluid environment as you described, Brianne. So I think it has to do with really with a lot of respect towards the people you're around. So.
Anybody else? Thanks, James. I like that. I like that it's about respect too. So.
I will throw in that one gal is retired Air Force, and she worked around a bunch of pilots. And if you know pilots, they're very egotistical, full of themselves type people. Mm-hmm. And so she has a very thick skin. And when we hired the other gal that works for us, we forewarned her that she may hear a few things, and she said, nothing will bother me. So just throw that out there.
Well, so for example, because no, I agree with that, because I grew up around working in a lumberyard with my dad, and I agree. I have a thicker skin, but what I found out is like somebody else overheard something, and I was like, psh, whatever, it's fine, I don't really care, and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so offended for you, and that's the other thing you have to look at. It's not just that I agree, but it's everybody else, anyways. But yeah, and I do agree that some industries have, going into it, you need to understand the culture of it, actually. Not that it's an excuse.
It's funny that you bring that up, because I used to volunteer for a fire department, and it's predominantly male. The fire station that I worked at was all male. And something that I was kind of shocked at was we had a community restroom, but since it's a fire department, it's open to the public, so if we had any visitors, they would have to use our restroom. But in the stalls, it's like they would keep inappropriate magazines there, and I thought this is not good. I mean, maybe I'm not in the real world because I'm a member, and I thought that was inappropriate, and they feel that wouldn't be in the general public, but I don't know. The case even talks about what a normal person um, would think is offensive, and then they go into um, more of a female stance because it's a predominantly male workplace. I don't know. Any thoughts?
I think it's interesting that you bring that up because I see the same thing. You see that in like it was I think it was talking about just that about sexual harassment, about images or anything that was sexually explicit, and you go to different places like automobile shops or like you're talking about construction. I did some construction, so I'm well aware of what you guys are talking about here, and and it's just like it says, it's not just male against female. It can be male. It can be basically against the same sex or female against male, and that's the thing. The way I see it is a lot of these people, they act like it's just one way. It's a one-way street, but that's not true. And that's what um, Brianne was referring to, and I totally agree with that. It's like and I don't understand why you see these double standards all and I've seen it before, where like if it's a female teacher or something, and it's a young boy, she gets a slap on the wrist or maybe house arrest or something. But if the guy does it to a girl that's the same age, he's like life imprisonment and sex offender for the rest of his life. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. The law is the way they're written, and the way they prosecute is totally wrong. There needs to be equal across the board. I don't care, if it's who they are. If they commit that crime, the punishment should be the same regardless of gender.
Well, and I agree. There was a situation where a gentleman was called in and actually suspended from work because of something he said. I defended him because the people that turned him in actually started the conversation. I was like, the women started the conversation, and I was like, no. It is not cool. Like, you want to have these conversations thinking it's all fun and flirtatious, it can be easily taken out, and you have to take responsibility. Again, it goes back to the respect, and that's why you keep a certain level. And again, it was in a business like setting, and I sat on the other side of the room because I couldn't even be by them because they were just really loud. But when I heard that, I went to HR and I was like, nope. They started it. I'm like, he shouldn't have, and yeah, you should suspend him. But they should also be punished because they started the conversation, and you can't complain about something that you start. You can take it too far and tell them to stop, and if they continue, but take responsibility and have respectful conversations. The end. Sorry. You would think I would stand up for my sex, and I do, and that's what makes me mad. Is I'm like, women, don't try to be in the man's world. Just be women. Okay, I'm done.
No, that's good. That just shows that you're neutral and want equality for all. So that's good. There's a two-part question. Maybe I'll direct it to Mark if he feels comfortable answering this.
Yeah, sure.
If you would report this in, how would you explain to Julia Martinez about your decision to report it?
How would I have to respond to him about?
Like you'd have to kind of warn her that you're actually going to go through with reporting what you heard, how would you go about telling her that this is a good decision? Because she wants it to be swept under the rug, right?
Right. She seems to want nothing to do with it, but honestly, I would start by talking to her, by letting her know that she has someone on her side, if that makes any sense. Because I think big reason people don't report these sort of things is because they feel it's going to get turned against them, that it's going to backfire on them somehow. But if they feel someone's there to support them, then that makes the world a difference. That's just been my experience with dealing with this kind of stuff. I have very limited experience with dealing with it. But then again, there's some people who just don't want to engage at all. And you kind of got to just tell them if no one reports it, it's just going to keep going. It's going to keep happening. So you I would start by talking with her about it and telling her what my intentions are and letting her know that I intend to report it.
Thank you for that. They do say, like, worst case scenario, she could possibly get fired over this. Are you willing to still go through with it if she is fired over this?
Well, if she's going to get fired, then I would stand by her and I'd probably quit my job. If I'm in a work environment that's going to fire her for that, I don't want to work there. That's not something I want to. So that's just me. And in my current work environment, I work around a lot of really crass people. I am the only member where I work. But they all kind of know where the line is, if that makes sense. They all know if something gets to the point of HR involved, or if someone's breaking company policy or disrespecting another employee in an unacceptable way, then they know not to be total jerks, if that makes any sense. I think most people inherently know that, and it's very rare that it would be the majority who are in the wrong, if that makes sense. I feel it's more often than not one or two people who are causing the problem and people who just don't say anything.
I agree. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts before I wrap up the case?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, now Derek's gonna tell us the whole story, which I read, but that was interesting. You know, I was coming from a standpoint. I had to read it because I want to know what happened, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. But you know, it's that like was being said before, is that, you know, they don't want to report it because, you know, they're worried, and rightfully so. She's worried that her husband was going to take it into her own hands, and I think she was concerned that he could do anything that, you know, and it's not a comfortable situation for either party to be in. But like was said before about the work environment, if you're in that kind of environment, that's basically a hostile work environment towards your employee, that's not the kind of place you want to be.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I'll just go ahead and read it because it's the best way to sum this story up. But when Jack called corporate counsel, he forgot about caller ID. The lawyer used the information he gave her to figure out the people he was talking about. She contacted the Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up her story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel There is so much animosity between DeCoste and friends that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. Oh man, like it didn't go down well at all. No happy ever after. What are you guys' thoughts after you hear what the conclusion was?
I'm fuming. Go.
Well, that's the worst case scenario, right? That's what and yeah, that does happen in the real world, and it's horrible. But I think if we just always are worried about the worst case scenario, then we'll never stand up. If that's like if he was just worried, if everyone's just worried about the worst case and getting fired or no one else standing up with you, then no one would ever speak up. And stuff like this would happen more often. So my opinion is that people should still stand up, and I'm honestly, like I said, quit. Or he left the company. Doesn't say how, but I would assume he quit. Like if that's the kind of environment that I'm in, I'm probably going to quit too. Because that's just not, like as I said before, I work with very crass people, and 9 times out of 10, they're total jerks. But they're not unethical jerks. They know when they're, like, people can be jerks all they want, yeah, and we have to work with people we don't like. That's life. But when they cross the line and starting to be unethical, that's a different category altogether.
It sounds like it might not have gone down as tactfully as it could have on the part of whoever DeCoste called, and then the EEOC taking the reins on that. And I think with matters like this that are very sensitive, like, and they know the policy, like, you probably aren't going to, it's kind of all he said, she said, and that's unfortunate. But without being in a position to provide any of that evidence, like what did they expect to have happened? And so for them to just like belligerently like force an investigation, and not saying that was wrong, and I think at some point that was the right thing to do, but I think unknowingly and being unprepared, and just, I don't know, like if there was some way to have a recording or a video or an email or something prepared to support Julia Martinez, and now look what happened with her. So I think with this, it's like a matter of like tact and being sensitive about such a sensitive matter.
Sorry, I'm fuming over here. I'm just going to say this. If you ever raise daughters, raise them to stand up for themselves. The fact that she has an abusive husband, 1, makes me mad. 2, because it shows that she doesn't stand up for herself. So it is, and I am not blaming her at all. That's just the way she is. But DeCoste should have stood up for her. Seeing and hearing that her husband would have threatened him, French or her, he, like, step in, people. Like, step in. You can't always change abusive relationships, and you can't always fix sexual harassment issues. But if she would have even just stepped up for herself, it would have gone better. But so raise daughters to have self-esteem and to stand up for themselves, and you're behind them. I'm just saying, my dad has 5 very strong women, obviously. So yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, this poor girl just can't stand up for herself. I ache for her. Ugh. Cycles. All right, I'm done.
Well, thanks for everybody's comments. That's how the case went down. But yeah, just like everyone was saying, it's kind of how the real world works. You don't always get what you want in the end result. But I think if we keep in mind the eternal perspective, it's much better to have a clean and clear conscience in doing the right thing because then you don't have to, you know, try to make up something in the next life to justify your wrongdoing. Or even though that was a bad ending, I'm sure it could have been worse. Had they continued to sweep it under the rug, maybe there could have been an actual sexual harassment act, even more so, taking place with that guy. It could have escalated. So you never know. Let's go ahead and transition to the doohickeys case. If everyone can open up their Google Doc. And I don't think I shared this with you, Mark. You go ahead.
Mark, I just, when we started this class meeting, I sent you a link. So Mark should be able to get into that.
I have it.
Perfect.
Just trying to get to it again. There we go.
So Mark's actually going to help us because most of the writing's been done. Mark's going to help us with a lot of the editing, just so he can take part in this. Looks like everyone contributes. Stephen, you still got some work in progress, I'm assuming. You got your bullet points.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish that tomorrow, like my part.
Sounds good. They made mention, our instructor, Bonnie, that he's looking for at least 10 or 11 citations. I think if we all, or everyone who wrote, has 2 each. Brianne did a good job of how she cited hers, so we can know what she referenced. But I can go ahead and make sure that everything's in MLA, so that all the references look the same.
I was going to say that I could do that if you like. I can put everything into, because I'm going to be editing it, right?
Yeah, that works.
So I can put it all into a nice, pretty bibliography.
I did
Sounds
have a
good.
question on it. What tense are we using, or verbiage? Like, are we using I or we?
It wasn't in this class, but I heard anytime you're doing a group project, it should always be we, because that's collectively our work.
Okay.
That's what I understood.
And I think it's collectively like in the tense of like the doohickeys. Just reading the example that they gave us, I think that's what they used, and
Okay.
just like assuming that this is our response to those situations as doohickey like employees.
Okay, and that's what I assumed, but I didn't want to be wrong, because it's like you are the HR person. So I was like, am I writing as me or am I writing as we? So, okay.
And that's something that Mark can do as he's going through the edits to make sure that they're all the same tense and that it's coming from we collectively.
Okay.
So don't sweat that too much. We more need the content. And if you feel like you're confident in whatever you wrote, just so Mark knows, I would say then start to put your text in black.
Oh.
Then we know you're done with whatever you're going to put. And then it's on to editing.
I like the idea. If you put it in black, I'll mess with it less. The only way I'll mess with it is probably putting it into more like the verbiage, like we or our. So that'd actually be helpful if you let me know if you are confident with what you put in there. And otherwise, I probably won't edit it too much, but just kind of make it all uniform.
Do we want to have like so I was doing the solutions for the second problem of performance or standards. Derek, I think it was D2, you were talking about the intro and the conclusion. You were having problems with that. what are you running into as far as the issue? What do you need to kind of sounding board on for?
D1 was the one who did the
sorry.
intro.
D1. I'm sorry.
So, like I was explaining, I mean, I'm looking at the intro and I'm looking at the conclusion, and there's presenting the problems, and there's probably like 4 or 5 sentences in the introduction, and more on the conclusion. And that's the way I set it up, and actually put more than the introduction. That was the example, and then I'm thinking, okay, what do I need to do? How am I going to get 375 words? This seems like a stretch. I mean, I put a conclusion and an introduction together, and I got 386 words. So it just seems like a stretch for the introduction to be that long, because I don't think I'm supposed to elaborate and explain. That's what the body of the paper is doing.
I could fluff it up.
Yeah, I was like, are there any pieces that you can put in the conclusion, do you think? I haven't read your introduction or conclusion.
So that's where I'm struggling, because I'm like, this is supposed to be an outline. It's not a description.
Okay.
Right, and personally, like I don't know that we necessarily need to have any more. I don't think that he's going to be like a super analytical guy. Like we could probably get away with some fluff if we need to, but I think those word criterias were just I believe and interpreted it this way, like the breakdown of what we need approximately in order to hit our goals. And so I don't think, like, if we can make up for that in the body, like, which I for sure think that we can, like, I don't know that 386 words is a problem for the intro and the conclusion.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, and if there's more that you can add without making it sound like redundant and repetitive, then sweet. And if not, like, I don't anticipate that being an issue.
I'm sure he's going to grade us a little lighter on this very first paper as well. But I think you're good, Derek. And we'll make up in other areas if we need to.
Okay.
Mark, what timeline do you think you need so that you can feel comfortable editing from the
Well,
group?
So that I can feel comfortable editing it?
Yeah, just because we don't know what your work schedule or your radio schedule. We gotta get this done.
Schedule-wise, I'm in Canada. Like, I am 2 hours ahead of you guys. And I work from 9 to 6 every day, sometimes 8 to 6, Monday to Friday. So weekends, I'm totally free. So yeah, if I could have everything you guys want to put in it, like completely 100% by Friday at the latest, I can get it done by the weekend. When does he want us to have this in?
Monday morning at 8.
Okay, I can have it in, like, ready as a final copy by Sunday for you guys to go over. And if I don't get anyone complaining about anything Sunday night, I'll hand it in.
Sounds good. It has to be transferred from to a Word document. Sorry.
Word docs.
Yeah,
and then
that's
it
what I
has
was
to be
going to
emailed. It has to be emailed to our instructor because there is no link to drop it in or submit it any other way but through email to the instructor.
So, yeah, I will work on it Friday night and definitely get it done Saturday. I was going to head to the temple up here Saturday, but afterwards I can finish it up and work on it. And then I will post it to the group or email it to everybody. So, and if anyone has no complaints about it, I'm hopefully handed in Saturday night or Sunday after church.
All right, Mark, I added you to the Hangout chat that we've been using. Did you get that invite, or have you used that service before?
I just got an invite to Hangouts on my phone. Let me look at that. I have not
Okay.
used Google Hangouts. I'm not very great with Google Hangouts. I've used it before, but I'm terrible at it. But
All right. So
I
yeah,
have it now.
when
I'm
you
in there now.
when you're at a stopping point and want all of our input, we've all communicated on that so far, and I think we've done pretty well. Just send us a message, and we can all jump into this online document and give our input, and we can
Sounds
move
good.
forward from there.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely do it. I will send a message on there saying, "Hey, it's done." And yeah, be sure to give me your input, because I can definitely hop on and edit it some more Sunday if I have to.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to have it done by Saturday night.
No, thank you for stepping up to the plate, Mark. Really appreciate it. Does anybody
Well,
have any thoughts or comments before we close? I think we're good to wrap up soon.
Well, we played the game here. Mark, you weren't here when we were introducing ourselves, and I had some questions for you about where you're at in Canada, because I know another person that's in this class that's in Canada. I forgot which part. If it was Quebec or Ontario, and wondering whereabouts you're at, and if you can tell us any more so we can get to know you.
Well, I am in Ontario. I'm in the Greater Toronto area, so like I live within an hour drive of Toronto. So if the other guy's in Quebec, I feel sorry for him. There's quite a heated rivalry between Ontario and Quebec. That's just a thing. But no, I actually just started online. This is my last semester. I have completed all of my course requirements. Except this class. This class and a few accounting classes, and then I am done. And I figured I might as well just do it from home. It wasn't even a full semester's worth. And BOI has a policy where international students have to take at least 12 credits. I needed less than that to pass or to get my degree. So I'm like, I'm going home and I'll just take everything online. So why I'm here.
Interesting.
It's a lot cheaper too. So
yeah, right.
But the inconvenient part is I am 2 hours ahead of you guys. So right now it is midnight for me. But yeah, that's a thing. But
you're actually 3 hours ahead of me because I'm over here in Arizona. So right now it's 9 o'clock.
Oh, lucky you. But it works out in my benefit sometimes. Like by the time I'm off work, it's like 3 and everyone's still down there, right? It's all what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I spent the last 3-4 years down at BUI and I loved it. And was kind of sad to actually leave, but it just did not make sense to stay down there. So, any other questions you want from me, or what?
What do you do for work?
I actually just got a job at a company called Lion Rampant. They are a board game, the largest board game distribution company in Canada.
Oh,
And
I know who they are.
Yeah, you've heard of them?
Yeah, I have a brother-in-law who owns a game store in Utah, so we are
Yep.
constantly ordering.
Yep, and US.
Yep.
I actually just got hired there, and I am the CEO's assistant.
Oh,
But
cool.
He mostly shuttles me around between purchasing and accounting. So today, and logistics. So basically, shuttling around everywhere, making sure everything's right, and helping people with stuff. Yeah, that sort of thing. It's fun. I enjoy it.
What's the most popular board game?
Oh, goodness. That depends, and that changes year to year. I could not tell you right now. Christmas time is not the greatest time to gauge that because everything's in chaos. But yeah, we're getting close to the Christmas rush, so we're getting ready for that. So, most popular board game. I have no idea, but all I know is around this time of year and any holiday, the drinking-based games are incredibly popular. Yeah, anything that involves you taking a shot is very popular. But no, I enjoy it, love it. Just got the job, and it relates very much to the degree. So.
Cool, that's neat.
Yeah,
Will the
I like it.
Wednesday 9 o'clock time work for you, Mark? Because that's when we've scheduled. Pardon me.
Yeah, that'll work for me. That'll work for me. Yes, that works. So 11 o'clock my time.
Correct.
Perfect. Yeah, works for me.
All right, if there's nothing else, thank you all for meeting. I think we had a good
Right.
session.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the group leader next week? Who would like to do that? Any takers?
I
Go,
would, but I
Steven.
don't know if I can. I might. If no one else does, I will.
Thank you for stepping up there, Mark.
All right, we'll put you down for next week, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, right. Yes. That was more of a backup. Okay. I guess I'm straight to backup. All right. Yeah,
Well,
put me
so far in that Google Doc up at towards the top, we've got a list of who's been the leader so far, and it's gonna cycle through. So
okay. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it next week.
If you
good.
don't, let us know. If it's too much, especially with editing, let us know. And I'm sure there's 3 other people that haven't done it. So
Okay.
We're all
All
right.
All
All right. Cool. Sorry, I wasn't available these last few weeks. I tried to get in touch with the professor for like 2 weeks to get me put into a group, and it turns out that he was not responding because it was going through my personal email or something, and not my BUI email. I'm like, why? So it was just a technical error. That's why he wasn't